Warning, this video may contain some material that many parents may find unsuitable for children under the age of 14. Hey, this is Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and this week is the Horseman build. The casting, obviously, is a Silverado pickup, and the theme is alcohol. So, this is pretty much what I had to start with. God-awful tampos and yellow windows. So yeah, with this Horseman build, if you haven't seen the promos or anything, each month one of us picks a casting and sends it to the other three. So there's 4 total. And this month is the Silverado, and the theme, each month will be a different theme, is alcohol. This casting, I was kind of hesitant on how to do this. There was a couple different ways I thought about going about it, and this actually took me 2-3 weeks to kind of putz around with and figure out what I was going to do. I ended up going a little bit different route than I initially planned, but in the end I think it came out pretty similar to what I envisioned. And what's funny is, you know, we start these projects, I always have a vision in my head, but my skill or talent or hands or brain or something doesn't always translate it to the actual casting, and this is probably one of those cases. It's either going to be something you like and you think it's cool, or something you don't, you hate it. So it is what it is. So these are the donor wheels. I'm getting off a M2 ground pounder, I believe. So after I strip the truck, I always start by trying to fit the wheels, because to me that's the most important thing. And the M2 axles, I had to cut the front ones because they were a little too long to fit within the wheel wells, and I still had to do a little bit of trimming here and there. So I'm kind of just getting a rough idea, making sure it's going to fit in the casting itself before I try screwing around with the frame. There's 2 little tabs that actually stick down that hold the axle in place, that'll need to get ground as well. So I'm looking for, as always, I'm looking for a certain stance, and you know, 90% of this is fitting and fiddling around. So here you can see those 2 posts that I was referring to. They got a small notch designed pretty much for a Hot Wheels axle, whereas the M2s are almost double the size. So I have to just grind a little groove in there just to make enough room to give it some clearance. This was a weird project for me. It was one of those ones that I went back and forth with 100 times, and I'm still not 100% happy with the way with the end result, but it is kind of close to what I envisioned. And that happens, you know, just one of those things where you can't always translate everything, and you learn from your mistakes. And I made a few on this, but not too bad. So here you can see I'm kind of close to the stance that I want, but obviously with these axles I'm going to have to use axle tubes, and I believe I'm using 3/32 axle tubes instead of for brass instead of the 1/16. So I have a grinding disc which is about the same thickness, so I use that to kind of grind out the channels that the original axles sit in. So with a much bigger tube that has to sit in there, you have to really grind it out. And you can do it with a file, you can do it with a few things. I use a Dremel, it works for me. I just find it quick and easy and dirty. I mean, the only thing that it does do is it does melt plastic, so you have to, you know, pick away at it and grind it, and then, you know, pick it off with a knife or your fingernail. So that works pretty good. The back took a little bit more work. These are some monster ass slicks, so I really got to cut not only the sides but also the inside and tub it out a little bit more, because these are pretty big tires. So just diameter wise and thickness wise. So you can see right here how I'm going to have to cut just a little bit. Actually, it's probably more than a little bit off of the casting. It's a plastic base, so Obviously, it's not very hard. If this was a metal base, yeah, it would probably been a little bit more of a project, and I would have used a different tool. So, yeah, the Four Horseman build is fun. Everybody has their own. It's interesting to see everybody's take on the same casting. You know, we have the same theme, and I'm sure not everybody's going to pick the same alcohol that I picked as far as the theme, you know, my theme. As always, if you like the content, just make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever I post something new. So with the wheels being as big as they are, not only did I have to cut the chassis, but I had to cut a lot of the interior as well. The actual interior bed of the casting. There's like a gas tank, and there's some side pieces and a back. It's just, I had to cut a lot. So again, for this, I brought out my jeweler's saw, which I've been using almost exclusively on every build. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end. You know, when you want to, I was too far gone in it to change direction as far as trying to squeeze these wheels in. So now I also have to grind away a little bit at the inside as well, because the bed's too thick, and I didn't want to tub it any further, so it was just easier to grind away a little bit of the inside of the truck, the metal that's hanging around, than it was to do anything else. So I just use a barrel sander. I lost some footage on this because it took me so long to do it. Then obviously the interior is attached to a piece that goes into the bed, which is about useless because, again, the wheels are so damn big. So I'm just cutting it up. I kind of feel good when I have to cut shit up. So in the end, it's worth it. So after I kind of have everything where I want it, now it's time to start prepping the body for paint, which really wasn't a big deal with the direction I was going on this. And it's funny, I ended up going the same direction I've been going on the last few builds. But I started the other builds after I started this one, so technically this was the first one, with more of a patina look, let's call it that. So I get an old wire. Usually, it started off as a cone, but it's all the little shreds are gone, so it actually works out really good with what's left. I can get into the nooks and crannies to get the existing paint off, stuff that the citrus strip just doesn't grab, or sometimes I use a brass brush to get in there as well. So I did want some surface area because I'm planning on obviously using some decals. So I'm making a tonneau cover out of some sheet styrene. Nothing fancy. I start off by outlining the actual outside of the bed, and what that does is that gives me a little bit extra all the way around, because it's easier to sand down the fit than it is to obviously make it bigger. So for me, this works. I'm sure there's better ways to do it, but this tended to be the easiest for me to get it a little bit larger, and it's not really that much larger. And then I just sand down all the edges till it has a pretty decent fit on the bed. Usually I'll put the tonneau covers inside, but with these wheels as high as they were and sitting in the way they were, it just made sense for me to put it on top instead of nestled nice and flush with the top of the bed sides. And then I'm kind of beveling the edges a little bit, just so that it's not so square. It gives it a little bit more of a realistic look to it. Not that you can see it, because I'm going to end up painting it a color that I hate painting, to be honest with you, because it just shows up like crap on camera. But so once that's fit, then I can just glue that on there and clean it and get ready for paint. So again, I lost some footage and I apologize. I tried some Vallejo ivory. I didn't want white. So I went with an ivory, and I'm going with Jack Daniels as my theme for alcohol. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart. Actually drinking some right now. But I've always liked Jack Daniels. I've always liked the logo. I just thought it was cool. And with transparent decals, any other color besides a light color just looks like crap and you don't see it. So I decided to go with the ivory. Then while that's drying, I masked off the grill and front bumper, and I'm painting the base with a Citadel Chaos Black, which I mention in just about every video because I use it on just about everything. I just like the way it works, and again, that's me. Then I'm going to detail the headlights in the null oil for the grill. I'm chroming out the back tail light so that I can apply like a transparent red. Detailing the underneath, which there's really not a lot. It's weird how that underneath is. You kind of miss. It's like the exhaust goes and then it disappears and it comes back. Some of these castings are really weird how they do the plastic. But anyways, I'm putting some racing seat belts in there that they were actually already there. I'm just highlighting them. And it's got a NOS bottle, so I'm highlighting that as well. You're not going to see the interior anyways, but I like doing this stuff. It just makes me feel good inside. So here I'm doing the exhaust with, yes, lead belcher. I know some of you have missed me saying that 8,000 frickin' times. So lead belcher, lead belcher, lead belcher. So this stuff works out good. It's got an aluminum look to it. And here's the null oil on the grill, just kind of a little bit of a black wash. Give it a little bit of depth and it's not so chromy. So you can start to see the heat. I'm experimenting, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'm using the Vallejo rust set, and I'm not airbrushing it. I'm actually using it as a dry brush, and I've got 4 different colors that I'm just playing around with. I've applied it via airbrush many times, and I love the way it looked. So I'm just trying something different. It may work, it may not work. The end effect looks good, but you know, airbrushing is obviously preferred. But the dry brushing seems to work pretty damn well. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm only using 4 out of the, I think it comes with 6 colors. And I'm just kind of streaking. I'm using the different shades. I'm starting dark and I'm working my way to a lighter and not, you know, I'm kind of using the bristles, and I'm kind of speckling in the different shades. And then for the very bottom, I'm using the Typhus Corrosion and the Rise of Rust, which I use in a lot of my videos. That's for the heavily rusted area. If anybody's ever had one, and I've had an 85 Silverado, cab corners, backs of fenders, over the bed, tailgate, all that crap rusts really bad. So that's kind of what I did there. It's, you know, it's one of those things, it's personal preference. There's no right or wrong way to rust something out. I've done it all. I've done it with salt. I've done it with the masks. I'm just trying different things, and sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. And I'm going to rust out the bumper as well, because those are the other things that rust out. So here's what I started with. I don't know what they were thinking. It's got to be the ugliest Silverado ever with these crazy graffiti decals in the yellow window. But in the end, it's still a square body pickup, which is cool as hell. So I'm really happy with the way this thing came out. And this is what I came up with. Rolls good, looks tough, looks rusty. So yeah, make sure you guys stick around. At the very end, we unveil what the February 2024 Horseman Challenge build is. I think you guys are going to like it. I know I'm looking forward to it. I've got a lot of great ideas already. So I appreciate you guys watching. The links to all the other builds are down below in the description. Make sure you please check them out. And I'll catch you on the next one.